Hey guys, what's up? Wanted to make a quick update since I hadn't made a video in a couple of days. There will be no Friday sealed deals today. You probably already assume that since this video is dropping Friday evening. Sealed deals usually comes Friday morning. I figure between Lord of the Rings and bonus bucks and Amazon dumps and everybody getting ready for Commander Masters, everybody's money ought to already have been spent or be allocated already. So I don't think anybody is really pining for Friday sealed deals today. On top of that, there's just all this negativity in the market this week. And, it's times like these that I really feel like I've had some of my best performance in the last 20 years in the stock market as a contrarian investor. And we see after these Amazon dumps earlier this week, we see a lot of other people just blowing out product at ridiculous prices, just capitulation. After WotC has dumped all this product on Amazon, we've seen this crisis of confidence in the market. And these are the times when you will make a ton of money. And I always like to think back to a couple of times in the stock market when I have struck hard at these opportunities and it's turned out great. A couple specific ones back in the early 2010s, sometime 2010 or 11 or 12. It was back when the F-35 program in the US was just, man, there was nothing that a single journalist could write positively about that program. It was over budget, over schedule. It had such incredible technical problems. It just absolutely could not do anything correct at the point. And because of it, Lockheed Martin, the prime contractor on it, their stock was suffering a lot. And I had some friends at the time who kind of turned me on to reading about the development of other fighter aircraft in U.S. history. The more recent ones, things like F-16, F-18, F-15, even back to A-10, things like F-22. And essentially what I realized was every aircraft development program in the U.S. is a giant disaster. It's a huge boondoggle until it clears up and it becomes a good plane. And I realized the market was being really short-term irrational about the F-35. And so I bought what at that point in my life was a lot of Lockheed Martin stock, and I've held it since then. And I look back at that in my brokerage account today. It has more than tripled in price in that time, and just the yield on cost today in terms of the yearly dividend compared to what I paid for the stock back then, the yield on cost is like 35% today. It's just unbelievable. And so, those kind of time periods when people are so overly negative, that's the time that you need to step back and say, is everybody just giving into the group think? Are they being way too negative? And should I be the one who is going against the grain and buying right now? Another story like that I like to tell is late 2020, kind of the September, October, November timeframe. Oil and gas companies were beaten down really bad. And I looked around and I thought, at this point in the COVID pandemic, we knew COVID was not killing everybody. We knew it was killing mostly obese people, mostly people with other comorbidities like asthma and lung problems. We knew that it was killing mostly elderly people, but it was not some like Ebola-like or, Hollywood movie-like disease that was just killing everyone. And so it was like, eventually society's going to come out of this. Eventually people are going to drive again. They're going to go on vacation. They're going to get on planes. They're going to get on cruise ships. Goods will move across the ocean and people will use oil and gas again. And I stepped in and I bought a whole bunch of ExxonMobil in the high 30s and low 40s. And I bought a whole bunch of XLE, which is an oil and gas ETF. I forget exactly what I paid for that. I want to say somewhere around 45 or so. Maybe that's totally off. But, even today with the price of oil down a fair bit off the recent highs, even those stocks are still more than double what I bought them for merely 3 years ago. And so there are times when the market just gets crazy irrational. And, the third example, a lot more recent and in the TCG space, is Flesh and Blood. Last year, when they released the Monarch print run numbers, all of the fair weather investors gave up, capitulated, went away, and the whole market dropped for Flesh and Blood. And I pounded the table and I said, guys, this is the time to buy. And it turns out, it was a much shorter time frame to be shown to be correct, but all that negativity in the market was just way too much. It was way too much negativity. It was oversold, and it was a great time last summer to step in and buy Flesh and Blood. And I think that's what we're seeing with Magic now. I think we're going to continue seeing that in the months to come, potentially the years to come. You know, ultimately, Magic has an incredibly strong network. And what I mean by that is the number of players, the number of collectors and investors, the number of LGSs, the number of supporting distributors, the number of printers who are set up to produce the product around the world, the size, the amount of capital that WotC can put into developing it, the design team, the expertise, just the number of keywords in the game, the maturity of the rule set, everything. The network is so big, so strong, so robust. It is going to be very, very hard even for WotC's executives to screw that up. It will take a long time, and there will be opportunities along the way for off-ramps where someone can essentially attempt to save Magic from WotC or save WotC from Hasbro through activist investment action, possibly. And so I'm still not negative on the ultra long term of Magic. You know, the short term, yeah, it sucks to watch idiots running WotC and doing dumb things. It sucks to watch the mismanagement of the standard format. It sucks to watch WotC try to turn every format into a rotating format to try to get your money. It sucks to watch them focus on everything except growing the player base. You know, growing the player base, it's kind of like the one weird trick that fixes every TCG. Just focus on growing the player base, for God's sakes. That's all you really need to do. Make a solid product and grow the player base. But instead, it's all these dumb ideas, dumb decisions, dumb products, and too much of everything. And so, yeah, it's demoralizing, but on the long term, Magic will survive. It's going to be very, very, very hard to unseat it as the #1 TCG in the world. And it's not even clear to me who is out there today who could do it. And no, it's not obvious to me that Flesh and Blood would be the one to do it. Possibly they will, but from my seat right here in July of 2023, I don't necessarily see that as an obvious thing. And so, you know, the point of all of this is when you see people capitulating, people throwing in the towel on Magic investment, on holding inventory of Magic, if we're talking about card stores, reach in, catch that falling knife, buy that product. In 2, 3, 5, 10 years, people will be lamenting that they gave up, that they threw in the towel at what turned out to be a great time to have been buying product. So remember those stories of stepping in, being the contrarian investor, coming into the market with your capital when everyone else was scared, when there's blood in the street, buy real estate. So one other thing I just want to talk about briefly, I've been having some health problems lately. Nothing life-threatening, not that big of a deal, but it's starting to cut into my ability to work and to produce content. And I expect it will for several more weeks at least. So I will probably be posting many fewer videos for a couple more weeks. I will put out videos when I can, when I have the concentration and the energy to do so. So bear with me. Thank you for support. I love all you guys. I love Final Trade. I love making videos for you. And I love all the engaging conversation and ideas that you guys have. So let me know what you think. Any questions, comments you have, anything else. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Join me on Final Trade. Thanks a lot, everyone.